Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me again today on this podcast. Today I want to talk about something a little depressing. Not too depressing, just enough. But anyway, I want to title this one, Dark Days of Selling. Ooh, sounds melodramatic. Dark Days of Selling. See, the reason that people write down their goals, we as salespeople have to write down tangible goals, as I've talked about in my past podcasts, is because, first of all, writing your goal down is great. And as I always say, you got to quantify that goal. And that is, how am I going to get there? But having that written down is evidence that you're going to need in the future. Here's why. Because we've all been in sales long enough to know that there are days that get very dark. In other words, the deals don't close. You've been working on this deal for a month or 2 months. You thought it was going to close. Your quota was banking on it, that you were going to make your number on this deal. And last minute they say, we decided to go with a competitor. Or we decided to move it into next quarter or next year. Or we simply decided not to do anything and move forward. See, there'll be days when your sales numbers are not what you expect them to be. And what you don't want to do is, sometimes we don't even want to pick up the phone. You ever have that funk, right? You're just in that dark day where you don't want to pick up the phone, nothing seems to be working. And what do? How do you get out of that mental funk? I like to call it. It is a blue funk. It is a mental funk. And I'm always reminding salespeople that if you have your goals written down and you've quantified what you need to do to achieve that goal, there's nothing wrong with looking up on your board or opening that drawer wherever you keep that goal that you've written down and looking at it and reminding yourself of why you do what you do. We all have bad days. Yes, even Victor Antonio has bad days. I don't care what sales expert you know about, trust me, they've had and still continue to have bad days. The difference is we remind ourselves why we do what we do. We have our, 1 minute pity party where we feel sorry for ourselves. Then we just dust ourselves off and say, all right, now what do we need to do? Because it is only through action that you're going to get the consequences you want. You've heard me talk about this in the past. A, B, C. No, not always be closing. Attitude drives your behavior, which drives consequence. Let me say that again. This is important. Attitude will drive your behavior, which will drive the consequence. Now, if you're feeling down, that mental sales funk, and you say to yourself, man, I just can't pick up the phone call today. I just want to take a day off. I'm not doing anything. I'm not answering emails. I'm done, right? Well, that's your attitude, which means that your behavior is you're not going to do anything. Right? You're simply not going to do anything. And what's the consequence of not doing anything? Obviously, nothing. You're not going to get anything done. But if you just shift your mindset, right? You just shift your mindset. I know it's hard sometimes. And you may be listening to this right now, and you're probably having that day right now, right? It is happening to you right now. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to find a reason to keep going forward. I want you to go look at that goal. Look at what you need to do every day to get to where you want to go. Because as soon as you shift your attitude, or as Tony Robbins likes to say, he always claps his hand, change your state. That's what Tony Robbins says, right? Change your state, right? Because what you do is once you change your state of mind, that immediately triggers your behavior. You act differently. You do something different. And again, because you're doing something, you're going to cause an outcome that's totally different. In other words, the consequence is going to be there. Attitude drives behavior, drives consequence. Now, one of the things I like to do when I am in a sales funk, one of the things I do is I force myself, listen to me, I force myself to listen to something. And I'm not talking about music, to listen to someone. And it doesn't have to be motivational. It could just be maybe something about sales, right? Like maybe this podcast. Listen to something. Now, here's the key. Your little voice inside your head, when you're in a funk, will tell you, nah, don't listen to anything. It's not going to help you. Don't read a book. whether it's motivational or just, anything about selling or growth, don't read it. It's a waste of time. All this stuff is a waste of time. Feel sorry for yourself. That's what we should be doing right now. See, if your little voice is saying that, tell that voice to shut up, because that voice always wants you to give up. Right? That voice will seek to kind of say, you know what? You're right. It's a bad day. Let's just give up. Let's just go sit in the backyard and not do anything. What I want you to do is, again, fight that. I do the same thing. When I get into my funk, my little voice says, life really stinks. What's the point? Especially today. Everything's going wrong. Let's not do anything. And then out of nowhere comes this low echo that says, don't listen to that voice. Go do something. Whether you're going to read something, or you're going to listen to something, or go on YouTube and watch something positive, inspirational, something that'll change your state, or maybe even try this, go for a walk. That usually changes it. I like to go for a walk, strap on a podcast. I have a bunch of podcasts that I listen to, and so what I do is I grab one podcast and I go for a walk. Believe it or not, I start the walk with all right. But when I come back, I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's do something. That combination, listening to a podcast and walking, is my secret formula. So do something that's going to break you out of that mental funk, because we all have these dark days of selling. And those people who can push through those obstacles, those mental barriers, these are the salespeople that are going to succeed. Many years ago, I heard the phrase, obstacles are those things you see when you take your eye off the goal. Let me say it again. Obstacles are those things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. So again, let's focus on the goal. No matter how bad things are getting, let's focus on the goal, because as soon as you focus back on the goal, as soon as you break out of the funk, as soon as you get out of your dark cloud or from under your dark cloud, you'll be able to see. Remember, let's think long term, because when we think long term, where we want to go, we see things with clarity. So again, if you're listening to this and you're having a bad day, all I can say is, man, go take a walk. Man, go read a book. And I'm glad you're listening to this podcast, but go forward. Change your state a la Tony Robbins and make it happen. Anyway, that's it for this Sales Influence podcast. Don't forget to leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you haven't done so already, you know the deal. Check out my Sales Mastery Academy. I got courses, I got videos, I got books, and I'm telling you right now, if you're having a dark day, go straight to salesmasteryacademy.us, salesmasteryacademy.us, and become part of the tribe. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.